Started, for those of you who haven't been here, you're sitting in A&N Mortgage's event space called the She Shed. So not only do we do great mortgages, but we have a great event space. We now have a great cyber truck for anyone who follows me on Instagram. It's probably somewhere around here. But yeah, my name is Savannah. Thank you for being here. It's time. It's time to meet who you all came here to see. So we're going to do things a little bit different this time. I'm actually going to have the panelists introduce themselves instead of me talking at you. I want them to share a little bit about their career, what they're up to, and yeah, just introduce themselves. So I'll give you a mic. So if you want to share name, your brokerage, tell us a little bit about your team, where you grew up, and anything else you'd like to add.
Okay. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. I'm very excited. I'm Jill Silverstein. I lead the JS group of Compass. We are a team of 7 females, and we're very proud of that. I have been in the business for, next year will be my 10-year anniversary, which is crazy. I'm from Detroit, and I am a very large Detroit Lions fan.
Thank you, Jill. And up next we have, I think you all know him, Matt Laricy.
Yes, my name is Matt Laricy. I tried becoming the first male of the JS group. She denied me. I work for a company called AmeriCorp. We started in 1978 on the south side of Chicago. I took the company downtown in 2008, so I've been doing this since 2006. I mostly came here today to discuss the political environment of the next presidential race. And I think we should get everybody who's going to be on the left on this side, everybody on the right on this side. We can know who we're talking to on each side. Did we get everybody moved now, or? Oh, sorry.
Fantastic. So I'm Danielle Dowell. I am part of the Dowell group. We're at Berkshire Hathaway. I've been in real estate, I don't know how long, but a long time. I think I got my license in 2008. I'm from a small town in the middle of nowhere, Missouri, of 1,200 people. Came to Chicago, knew one person, decided to get into real estate, and the rest is history.
What has been the most influential lesson you've learned in your career? And what are some of your biggest mistakes throughout your career?
I mean, I think for me, the thing that I wish that I would have done differently was build faster, quicker. I think that I was a little hesitant, just because probably I was a little nervous. I felt like a little insecure in some ways. But now, like, once the ball is rolling, I feel like it keeps going, and it's, so that's the only thing for me. As far as like lessons learned, I think just the biggest lesson for myself was just to be myself, and just to be comfortable with that. And I think that if you are, like, you're gonna attract who you attract. If you don't, that's okay. You're not for everyone, that's fine, totally. I mean, do you really wanna be for everyone? What do you stand for, in my opinion? I think that's the biggest thing. Just like be yourself, go out there, do what you do. And I mean, I think who you attract, will attract to you, and everything should be good.
I don't think you should ever look at things as if like what I should change, because I don't think you can get to where you're at without like the failures that you're going to have. And like, to me, like, I didn't really do any business for the first 4 or 5 years of my career, and I think that's kind of what molded me to where I'm at today. And I think if I had that instant success from day one, I don't think I would be where I'm at now. So I do think it's really good to fail, and fail often. I think a big problem that I had when I first got started is, kind of like going off what you said, is I was trying to be everything to everyone. And I was trying to like do everything. I'd be like, oh, I'm in Orland Park this day, I'm in Evanston tomorrow, I'm downtown here. And like, I just tried spreading out too much. And that was like in 2006. And when I realized when I came downtown in 2008, is like, I really just want to do very well, like downtown. And that's what I want to do. So what I did is I started small. I was like, I'm going to be the best in this little pocket. And then when I became the best in that pocket, I expanded. I'm like, okay, now I'm going to take over this pocket as well. And then slowly but surely, I kind of kept building on there. And something my dad taught me all the time was that Rome wasn't built overnight, right? And we all want that Roman Empire day one, but we have to realize that we got to start from scratch and win the first battle. And when you win the first battle, then you got to go out to win the second and third and fourth. And along the way, you're going to lose a lot of battles, but you could either sit there and cry like a little baby, or you can pick yourself up and keep moving forward to continue to conquer. And I think that's the biggest problem I see in this industry, is that everybody tries to be something that they're not, and people can kind of see right through that these days. And you try to be bigger than what you are. And I don't think there's any problems if I'm just first starting off of saying like, hey, I don't know this. Like, the biggest problem I have with agents is like, we have a deal and somebody's trying to tell me like something. I'm like, dude, like, yeah, if you offer $500,000 with a $5,000 closing cost credit, like, that's $495. And like, no, it's $500. I'm like, $5,000, this doesn't fall off trees. Like, this is my perfect example, because I have this conversation like once a day. And it's like if you're new, just like I don't see what the problem is asking for help. Like when I don't know something, the other agent does. I'm like, hey, like, is this why this is like that? And like, yeah, like, oh, okay. Like, you don't look like an asshole. You look like an asshole when you're trying to be somebody you're not, and you don't know something. So like, just kind of understand that like this is a process. It's going to take time. You're not going to be the best day one, and the more you accept that, the better agent you'll be because you'll learn along the way.
All good points, and I think to piggyback that, I think really when you're starting in the industry is to see it as almost like you're in school and understanding that the first couple years you're not intended to be a rock star making 6-7 figure salary. Your intention should be to learn and to, what we call on our team, sponge it up and really absorb all of the information possible. And so I think that's super important to really be able to gather as much market knowledge as possible, because that will essentially accelerate your career more than anything else. I think what has been influential for me, Barbara Corcoran said to expand before you're ready. And I think it's really hard, especially when you're trying to balance paying your rent and paying for marketing and paying to run the business. I hired my first assistant after 11 months in the business, and people thought I was crazy, but I identified early on what I was good at and what I was not good at. And I was very self-aware in that regard and brought on help to take care of what I didn't want to be doing or wasn't great at doing. And so in the beginning it was challenging because I wasn't even sure how I was going to possibly fill this woman's plate with 40 hours a week of work. But I think it's manifestation and believing where you want to go and seeing that and hiring accordingly. I've made a lot of mistakes. I make mistakes often, and I think it's humbling. But I think it's extremely important to fill your network with other real estate professionals. And it took me a few years to grasp that concept, because to me, I was so uber focused on being in a room with potential buyers and potential sellers, and I didn't understand that your reputation and your network with your colleagues is so imperative to being successful and getting deals done. And your reputation is everything, and that's something that I'm very proud of, but I wish from the jump would have spent more time networking with real estate agents, not just to get deals done, but to be able to take their knowledge and be aware of what I didn't know. Hiring just to hire, it's an ego thing a lot of times with real estate agents, and bringing people on just to have 10 people standing behind you in a team photo is really not advantageous. And I think that it actually ends up costing you substantially more than anything else. And so I think being really intentional and aware with who we were bringing on, and also with where we were spending money. I think in the beginning it's like you're just trying to, like Matt had said, do everything and be everything. But that's something I would have liked to have slowed down in the beginning and processed where my dollars were best spent and where my hiring moves should have been. And I guess the last thing with mistakes, I could keep going. New construction. I think new construction is something that if you don't know what you're doing, you need to be very, very careful and ask the right people for help, because you can get burned extremely easy. I sold, real quick, and I know I gotta move on. I sold a house to a White Sox player and his wife, and it was new construction, and I was probably just wrapped up in being excited for the opportunity and didn't do the due diligence and make sure that I was being the best possible agent I could. And there was a lot of problems. Long story short, he was in his kitchen and the master shower started coming through the kitchen, and the developer did not fix it. And those people no longer talk to me. So new construction is something you have to be very, very careful with.
Just want to piggyback on what you said about the importance of building connections in the industry, which is why we do these events. Obviously, like, we get to see you guys and it's fun for us, but there is a lot of benefit if you work the room right. We've had people join people's teams because of these events. They meet somebody they never even knew. So just make sure that after the panel is done, you're talking to each other, building from each other, and learning how to, grow from each other's success. How do I run my business like a business? How does this allow me to grow my business year over year?
I think a lot of people, when you first start off, you do want to get to that, instant gratification that we talked about earlier. But, a big problem I see for agents is that you don't run a business like a business. This is a big thing that I kind of saw in myself, and I know a lot of people call themselves junior brokers and senior brokers, and everybody's a senior vice president whenever I see your signatures, and everybody's this. And I don't understand, like, why people don't break it down. And, like, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, but, like, if you look at any other business, they run it a certain way, and in real estate, we don't do it that way, which I think is a little crazy. But, like, if you have an assistant, I think that assistant should be assisting you in whatever they're supposed to do. I don't think your assistant should be everything to everyone, like we talked about earlier. Most people in the brokers community, you have an assistant, they do lockboxes, put up signs, they're answering emails, they're setting appointments, they're doing this. It's like, well, that person isn't really your assistant. That's just kind of like, maybe if you want to call them a junior agent or whatever. In my opinion, when you look at a business, like, I have an assistant and all she does is manage deals. She's the best at just managing deals. Something comes in on a deal, you got a question about a deal, you got a question how it goes, that's her job. She assists in that aspect. I have another assistant, and what she does is when we get a listing, she preps. Jessica, you're here, congrats. She's really good at it. She's your front-end concierge. We get a listing, she preps it, she gets everybody in order for you, she does, like, everything that you're supposed to do, every question you could ever have to get a listing done. We go on the market. We have somebody who just assists, Miranda, who's also here, setting up appointments just for showings on that listing. Another assistant who just does buyer tour. So anytime a buyer lead comes in or a buyer tour, she sets it up. And if you can see what I'm doing here is that when a client comes in, so a consumer comes to me, they're then passed off into a situation, not where I'm not communicating with them, but, like, we're out in the field. Our job is to sell, meet new people, and get clients. I need an assistant to assist me that can answer the questions in that category the best. But for some reason in the real estate industry, everybody thinks assistant means that you're also running around and doing all this other stuff, which there's not another business in the world that does it like that. Like, it doesn't exist like that. So what I would stress to people in here is that if you really want to grow your business, and the reason why we're continually able to grow and scale each and every year is that I put somebody in place for every aspect. So if there's something that somebody can use that's client-facing, I then create a job, and that's the person's only job. Like Miranda, who sets up appointments, she also sets appointments and she does feedback. That's all she does. And you may say, well, Matt, how do you fill 40 hours a week with that? Well, we have 100 listings. Do you know how many showings you get during busy? We might get 100 showings in a 2-day period. How can one person handle that? Is more or less what I would say. So when you have to look at when you're building a business is how can I better assess my business to help my clients and be the best version of myself? And one thing that we do very well is we're in the fourth quarter right now. So what I would suggest everybody in this room to do, because everybody's going to be slower the fourth quarter. If you tell me you're the busiest you've ever been, you're full of shit. I don't care. Like, fourth quarter is always slower than the first quarter. First quarter is when things get crazy. So what you should do right now, and this is a big thing that we do why we succeed so much in Q1, is that we look at all of our weak points in Q4 that we've done all year. And every time I don't get a listing, every time a buyer fires me or somebody fires me, I ask, why did you let me go? And then I take a note of that. And I subconsciously think how I can improve on that. And then we have a meeting and we say, hey, here's all the reasons why people hate us. How can we make sure that these people that we get that are like them in the future don't hate us? And what can we do to better our business? And then how can I take each one of my assistants and my sales staff and my marketing staff? How can you guys help me get these people to now love us in the future rather than hate us? And that'll make us win more on Q1. So when everybody's like, well, how did you get succeed so much? How's Q1 so great for people like us? It's like, because in Q4, when we're slower, we're not really slow, we're planning and preparing for next year to make sure that all of our weak points become strong points. So each and every year, we get stronger. Now, I'm not perfect by any means, I'm far from it. But what I can tell you is that each year we plan and prepare to make sure that we put ourselves in the opportunity to win more in the following years.
If you were a brand new real estate agent or an agent with 0 active deals right now, what would you spend your time doing? And where do your leads come from outside of referrals?
So if I was a brand new agent, Honestly, I would probably get on a team, I think. I mean, in my opinion, it's really hard in this business right now to do it by yourself. Not to say that's impossible, but I think the way that things have vectored over the years, it's not the same when I started. I think you can learn a lot. I think you can get a lot of business from that. And I think Jill, you said it, market knowledge that's how you do it. Like all open houses, broker open houses, like you have to learn zoning, you need to learn like square footage, you understand finished packages. Like if you don't know that and you don't know that quickly, I think it's gonna be hard to like push. So that's something I would do. I would learn all of that. I would also sit open houses. I would follow anyone that you can get your hands on. You know, I would call leads. I mean, we have people on our team that door knock. I mean, they love it. They get together and they have a good time with it. You know, we're doing it for a lot of new construction stuff. But there's all sorts of things that you can do. I mean, you can, you know, send out flyers. You can send out postcards. I mean, there's everything. There's a ton of things you can do. Just even handing out your card, like, who are you with? Like if you're getting your nails done or you're going to get hair, like just talk to people. I think that's one of the biggest ways. But it is hard because once you get the clients, you still have to be able to service them and you have to know what you're doing. And so if you don't know both sides, then really there's no deal to be had. And I see a lot of new agents that come in and they get deals and they're excited, but they don't ask for help. And then that deal ends up never becoming a deal. So making any money is better than making no money, in my opinion. And that's how I've always ran my business from the beginning. Like I remember my first $3-4 million deals, I co-listed with an agent that was, in my eyes, better than me and knew more than me. Did that person or those people ever really do anything during that transaction? Not really, but I needed it for my security. And so to me, I was willing to give up half the commission to be that way. And I think that's the way. For our team, I would say like with people, don't look at what's today or like next week. You need to be looking like year, 5 year, like what you're I mean, if you have to, that's what the deals should be like. It's not like what you're getting. If you're just focused on what you're getting tomorrow, it's gonna be really hard to build anything longevity-wise, in my opinion.
I want to ask you a follow-up to what you kind of went down a list of things that you would do if you were new. And I noticed, I'm big on social media, I noticed that didn't come to top of mind. So if, let's say you had a new agent join your team, how much would you emphasize focusing on social media growth versus like in-person connections?
I think it depends on the person. Like everybody is different and good at different things, okay? Some people are good on social, it works for them. Some people are absolutely not. Like I see them and I'm like it's not, you know, your thing, right? So find out what is your thing first, and then decide whatever you want to do with that, you know, and make sure that you're doing it well. So, and I also think it depends on your age range too. I mean, I think different social platforms are better for different people.
I'm going to ask the same question to you, Matt. So if you're a brand new agent or an agent with no deals, how would you spend your time?
I mean, first off, I would brag that I was like number 16,000, right? So I think there's 16,000 agents in Chicago. So I'd be like, and I think it'd be cool if you wanted to do social media. I'd be like, I'm number 16,000. So people go in the interview, like I always tell people, like, I'm not, you know, I sold the most last year, blah, blah. Like, fuck that guy, I'm 16,000. Like that guy's got all the business. Like I'll sleep in this bed. Like I will die on your front lawn to sell this place. Well, the number one guy, like he doesn't. Like, and that's how I would follow my journey. And like I would be like, as I got to like, I climbed the ranks, I'm like 1580 today, like fuck yeah. Like we're gonna get 15,000 next month. Like, and that's what I would do. I'm not even joking around. I would brag the fact that I have no deals. I don't know why everybody these days has to say they're the best when they're not. Like, if you're the best, great. But if you don't do any business, like, why the fuck are you making it up? Like, it blows my, that's why everybody hates us, right? Because everybody's like, I do $1 million, and then you look them up, you're like, 2 million deals. Like, I would brag, be like, listen, like, I worked my ass off. I only did 2 million last year, but next year I'm gonna do 3. Like, I think more people would relate to that. And if I was at the bottom, that's exactly what I would do. When I was at the bottom and I came downtown without a pot to piss in, I'd sleep in my car between appointments because I didn't want to drive back to the suburbs. Like, I would literally brag to people. They'd be like, you didn't sell anything. I remember my first listing at 1560 Sandbridge. She goes, how many listings have you sold here? I said, 0. She goes, how well do you know the downtown market? I said, I don't know it at all. She goes, then why am I going to hire you over somebody else? I said, because like literally I need this sale to move out of my parents' house. And at that point I was 23. I didn't move out of my parents' house until I was 27, guys, okay? Because I didn't want to rent because I figured every dollar I spent on rent is money I could have spent back investing in my business. And I wanted to win so badly that I was willing to sacrifice everything it took to get to the top. And that's what I told my clients. My clients felt that. And she's like, I'm going to take a chance on you. And this was at the bottom of the market, and I sold that listing. And you know what? She recommended me to somebody else. And I went on an interview, and she goes, why am I going to hire you over? She's probably not here, but she said, why am I hire you over Jenny Ames? She goes, Jenny Ames does so much business. I said, Jenny Ames is a great agent. I'm like, but I have nothing. And that means I have nothing to lose, you know? And I don't know any guys ever got in a fight here? I mean, I got my ass kicked a shit ton of times. What do you always want to say? You don't want to fight the guy that's got nothing to lose because he'll fucking kill you. You know what I mean? Like, you're like, I don't want to fight that guy. Like, he's fucking nuts, you know? So it's like, that's the way you got to be. And that's the way I would be if I was at the bottom. And the other thing I say to people all the time, one of the reasons why the general public literally hates our guts, is because we have no education. if I was at the bottom, I would also not allow myself to sell on my own. We're the only business in the entire world where we could get a license and 2 hours later you could sell a $5 million listing and you don't know shit. So I would not only would I require, if I was in charge of NAR or whatever, I'd be like required that you cannot sell a place on your own without somebody who's had at least 4 years experience. And I would tell you for the first 4 years, you should look at this as an education experience. This is your college education, which you mentioned earlier, that you're going to now go to college for sales for the next 4 years, and you cannot independently sell one property on your own until your 5th year. And you know what? The general public would look at us and like us more because be like, you know what? This person, I know that maybe he's got to give up 50%, like you said earlier, but I know at least that I have the security to know that these people actually care about the job rather than the money. And the general public doesn't look at us like that because all we care about, according to social media, we show that we're all $50,000 million hitters and we're all number one, and that's why they hate us. And I think that all of these types of things can help change the face of the industry for the public to then look at us in a more respectful way.
That's really interesting. I think you should be in charge of that. You should.
Yeah.
All right, Jill, do you want to?
So I disagree.
Oh.
That's good. We're going to have some drama.
I am a huge advocate of fake it till you make it. That is what I think helped me tremendously, and I still feel the same way. From the jump, I would walk into a room like I belonged there, and I think it's about dressing for the job that you want, not the job that you have. And so from the beginning, and I had to, be cute and creative because people would ask me questions and I didn't always have answers because I was very fresh, but I didn't look fresh and I didn't act fresh. And I think if I was a brand new agent starting out, I would invest in an expensive blazer. You can go to the Real, shout out to the Real, they should sponsor me. And a bag, depending on who you are and what you're into, but you need to exude a successful demeanor, right? People want to work with successful people. Don't ever tell anybody that you're new. Be extremely prepared, do your research, and I think the best thing about real estate is that if you are walking into show a building, you can sit in your car for 10 minutes before the showing and you can educate yourself so much and sound like a true expert with such little effort. But I think being a new agent, it's all about being in front of as many humans as you possibly can. When I'm interviewing, one question that I always ask is, do you consider yourself a salesperson? And if the answer isn't immediately yes, I don't want you on my team, and you probably shouldn't be in the business. We are in sales. It's the biggest sales arena. And so if you are new and you're sitting at home on your couch on the MLS and you have no business, to me, that's a huge disservice. You should be out all the time. You should be dressed up 7 days a week, especially when you're going to Trader Joe's, especially when you're going to Starbucks, and talk, right? Talk to people. Be out there. Have a huge stack of business cards. And don't let yourself come home at night until that stack is gone. I think that's everything. I would sit at Gibson's, and I would sit at the bar and order a glass of wine and a salad by myself, and if I didn't have dinner plans, just to talk to people that were around. And I think that's one of the beautiful things about Chicago is you can do that. I'm from Detroit. It would be different and not as comfortable to go into a restaurant by myself and sit at the bar, whereas I feel in Chicago, in this city, you can do that. So I think just being out all the time, and then open houses. But here's the thing about open houses, and I want to give a shout out to Katie, who's on our team, because you can sit at an open house all day long, but you are not going to get business if you sit there like a stump, right? You have to be a rock star at open houses and be like, oh, go sit open houses, you're gonna get business and everything's gonna happen. I actually didn't sell a single place to anybody in my own, like any of my friends, until I think year 4. For me, it was all new business. And it was open houses, and I would sit at least 2 every single week. I was very intentional about the homes that I was sitting the open houses at. and I was prepared. And so it's not just about, for open houses, knowing the stats of the house, but it's about knowing everything else, all the competition. So if you're sitting in $1 million place and buyers walk in, instead of being like, oh, this is 4 bedrooms and this is 2,500 square feet and there's parking. I'm like, well, I'm sure if you guys are if you're shopping at this $1 million price point, I'm sure you guys saw, the place on State Street, right? And like, in understanding how to talk the talk so you sound like a true expert, because the two things are getting people to like you, right? And like you and trust you, and seemingly that you know your shit. So open houses are really important, but you have to actually be an active participant at these open houses. Anyway, back to Katie, we met with buyers that she just brought to the team, 1.5 million buyers, and the buyers said that they went to 8 open houses on a Saturday, 8. And Katie was the only agent that was talkative, who was able to relate to them, who seemed, eager but not too aggressive, and really seemed like she knew what was up. So that was pretty sweet. And then, of course, with open houses, it's about follow-up, and that's a whole nother conversation. But if you go to an open house and you call somebody the next day, and you're like, oh, this is gonna be my new $1 million buyer, it's not gonna happen. Generally, in my opinion, it takes about 5 to 8 times of follow-up to get people to commit to meeting with you. So that would be my advice on that.
I feel like I need to give Matt the space to respond in case there's anything else you want to add.
I mean, this is just my personal opinion. I think fake it till they make it's like the worst thing in the world. And the people who work with those people, I'll tell you, I have a 90% success rate when I meet with somebody. And my 10%, one of the biggest things that we get is that, like, I tell people what they need to hear, not what they want to hear. And I will never conform to only do what as she says, we are in sales. If you don't know what you need to say to win, then you're never going to be people like us up here, okay? Because we know what it takes to what you want to hear. I just won't conform to that. I can't. I hate people who are full of shit. I don't want to be somebody that's full of shit. I want to be who I am. I think it's important, in my opinion, to be, and I think it's again, a reason why a lot of the general public doesn't like us is that we just lie so much. And if I can't tell you one of the reasons why I win so much more than I lose is because I just refuse to conform and go along the lie of what everybody else preaches. When I go on a listing appointment, somebody's like, I've interviewed 4 people and everybody said it was worth $500,000. You say it's worth $450. I'm like, that's because everybody else just wants to get the listing and then beat you up on a price cut later on. Do you know how many times that happens? Probably 8 or 9 times a week. That's not even a joke. Like, literally, that's the main reason why I get listing appointments. But every now and then I'll lose because of that. So I think it's important to understand, like, who you are as a person and who do you want to portray to the general public. Do you want to be somebody that they can feel like they could trust or somebody that they could dance around,
Okay, I do want to say, for the record, I pride myself on being real and authentic, and I hear you on, especially when you're talking with sellers, we will not take a listing unless it is a sellable product. So what that means is they have to be willing to be a true partner and willing to take our advice and be a fair market. So we don't lie, we never lie. Sometimes we exaggerate a little bit. Like if we have 4 showings, we'll say we have 5, but we don't lie, and we certainly are an incredibly authentic brand.
Awesome. I was hoping that would happen at some point. So this question I have for Jill, but if anyone wants to jump in, feel free. A couple people asked how to grow your business in the luxury space. So if your average sale range is like $500K, somewhere around there, how can you take that up a notch to like the $1 million plus range?
I guess I'll go back to dress for the job that you want, not the job you have. And what that means is, I think it's really about surrounding yourself in the right network, right? Like one of my favorite lines is, if you put a white glove into the dirt doesn't turn white, right? The glove gets dirty. And so I think it's about surrounding yourself with people that you want to be a part of that network, right? And the luxury space, you have to really understand beyond just the home. You have to understand what is important to a luxury buyer or a luxury seller. Rich people love money, and rich people don't want to lose money. And I think that it's important to be able to communicate the right way with the luxury clientele in the market. And I think what I would do is spend a lot of time going to higher end networking events. Like if it was a networking event that, I can't remember what the threshold was, but if it was under like $50 or $100 for a ticket, I wasn't interested. I wanted to go to the places that luxury buyers and sellers were at, go to restaurants, be out, be in the, you know, in the public areas that a luxury person would spend their time, and walk, you know, I'd walk around the merchandise mart, and I would spend my free time, you know, looking at the higher end appliances and knowing what those brands were like, and knowing what, you know, what would be expected in a luxury property, and really understanding that arena. And then I think the other thing that, you know, I'll note, I see people on social media, you know, that contact me, and they say, how do I get to a higher level? How do I increase my average price point? And I say, well, I've watched your stories the last 7 days, and you've consistently posted $250,000 condos. You've consistently posted about being a first-time, you know, home buyer. And if you're trying to peg yourself as a luxury broker, then you have to really portray that on social. And so there's so many ways that you can do it without lying. You don't have to lie. I think it's just, you know, you have to sort of manifest it and put it out there and be in the right places.
Thank you. I don't know if Danielle has anything to add to that, but I also wanted to piggyback. One of the first times Jill and I sat down to do some videos together, we sat down and the first thing she says is like, we need to speak to the luxury people watching this video. And it's something I've been thinking about ever since, because it's hard. It's hard to carry yourself in a way on a social media post that speaks to the right people, but it's very important. So I think about that every single time I make a video now. But Danielle, I'm sure you have something to add, because you only post like $4 million listings all the time and have the
Those are not my listings, actually. I'm at a luxury broker open house.
Okay, well, there you go. Share a little bit about that, please.
So, I mean, you know, we are trying to like push our price point as a team. We have the last couple years, and we've done pretty well with it. I think the biggest thing for a lot of agents that I talk to, especially in our team, is understanding that whether you're rich or poor, you're kind of the same people, okay? I think people put too much emphasis on people having money and thinking that their personalities are different. They're actually not. And I think once you realize that and you ease yourself up to understanding that that's what it is, I mean, there's definitely a certain type of person too, like whether you're, you know, lower end or higher end, people have different personalities, right? But you're gonna attract, like I said beforehand, who you attract based off of who you are. So, I mean, I've just always done it based off of just, I don't know, just meeting people, kind of like Jill said, when you're out and about, you meet people. I mean, I've never really purposely put myself into situations where I've been around trying to push luxury over anything else. For me, it's about everything. I like to encompass the macro, micro markets. I don't want to get pigeonholed into one certain area, depending on how the market turns, which we've seen in Chicago, where luxury has crashed and then it's come back. So I have a different outlook and a different thought process on it. For us, it's just more of getting in front of people and showing our value of what we bring to the table at that market, what we know, understanding the market, coming up with creative ideas to market. And also just being like, sometimes when you get, like Matt was saying, like he goes into stuff, you know, when you have somebody that's in luxury and that's all they do is luxury sometimes, I'll be honest, they may not have the same appetite to really push that property if they've got 25 million other properties that are the same price points, right? So you just kind of go in, and whenever you're talking to people, it's really just becoming a chameleon, which I think we've all kind of said on this. You need to know who you're talking to, who they're talking to. You need to understand your competition, understand the market, and then be able to position yourself to where they want to work with you, because you're able to basically sell them on that. And that's what I think we have done with like luxury. You know, we just kind of keep pushing that. But also I feel like as you get farther in the business and you've been in it longer, it just kind of comes naturally to you. You know, I mean, now people are trading their houses up. So you help them at 750, now they're at 1.5, now they're at, so I think part of it is just the process, the longevity. But have I seen brokers that have pushed into the luxury market way quicker than what I have, or we have 1,000%? But for me personally, I don't know that that was ever my number one objective.
One thing I do have to say about the luxury market is that every broker is a luxury broker. And then I see on like a $200,000 listing of ours, and I think it's funny. And I think it's important to understand is that, like, I said it earlier, I'll say it again, is that you can't be everything to everyone, but like ultimately, luxury is just another sale. It's the same thing, except it's a higher price point, and you're meeting with people who are done better off in life. And when you're selling luxury, you have to understand that you're also selling a lifestyle. But what you have to realize that these people that want to hire you, they want to work with other people who have the things that they have. And if you look at a lot of the people who have luxury listings, I mean, honestly, they're also rich brokers that came from rich families. That's just the God honest truth. Like, and nowadays, I'll tell you that, like, it was really hard for me to break into the luxury market because I grew up in like a blue collar family. We didn't grow up rich. I grew up in the South Side. So I felt like I had a lot more to prove when I would compete against North Shore people who grew up, and you see this kid that's 25 and they got a $5 million listing, and it's, you know, daddy's brother, you know, and it's hard to compete like that. So as you're a broker that's trying to compete in that market, how do you get there, right? How do you compete with the rich kids who grew up with that, and now you want to sell the stuff? Well, you have to prove yourself and work your way up, because the one thing that I've learned, this is just my takeaway, is that rich people want to work with rich people. That's just the God honest truth. And they want to work with people who will have also money. And if you don't have money or you don't have a lot of rich friends, they don't like you as much. And this is just my experience personally, trying to get into it. And now I will tell you probably one of our biggest flaws that we have. So when I look at, you know, what's our biggest chink in our armor, is like it probably more in the luxury market, because we do a very large amount of luxury sales, but we also do so many small sales that a lot of the luxury people are like, well, we want to hire I've been fired twice this year from high-end stuff. And they said, we want to hire a luxury broker. And then they hired the luxury broker. And I don't talk shit much, but I saw the messages that the guy said about me. And I was like, listen, this guy rents. He couldn't even afford a $3 million place. You know what I mean? Like, and this is a renter, and this is a guy that's in luxury. So it's like, it's the fake it till we make it stuff that drives me nuts about this business, is that we got these guys who can't do anything about it, and they're doing it. So what I'm trying to tell you guys about the luxury market is that it is a little bit of a facade, but until you get to a point where you're rich enough to be able to buy a $3 or $4 million place, unless you grew up around money, it is going to be a tougher market to get into. And what you need to do is, it's like I told you earlier, is Rome wasn't built overnight. Start small. Start with the 2 to 4 to 6. Those people then buy a 1.2, then they buy a 2.4, then they buy a 3.6, and then they start recommending you. And as you're younger, it's harder to break into that luxury market. But as you get older, people will trust you more because you'll be more experienced. But I don't think everybody day one needs to try to prove that they're a luxury broker.
The only thing I wanted to add, off of you, Danielle, I think the best advice is to treat every person like an equal. Yeah. And, you know, when you're dealing with luxury people that are, you know, athletes, CEOs, business owners, busy professionals, you don't want to talk to them like they're better than you, because they're not, right? And so when you talk as an equal, I think that resonates and goes a long way, and that's super important. But also, on that note, you just never know, right? You never know who knows who, and you might have a client that's buying a $500,000 place, and if you treat them like a multi-million-dollar client, that will go far for you. That $500,000 buyer might have parents that are going to buy a $2.5 million place. And so I think you need to really treat everybody the same. And I remember there was a few people my first year that were renters, and we gifted, it was me, it was just I at the time. I gifted them as if they were multi-million-dollar people. I followed up, I treated them like kings and queens, took them out, did all the things, and those people ended up referring me over and over and have helped really with building my career. So I think it's recognizing that everybody is your equal, and you don't want to ever make them feel that they're not, because that's not the way that they want to be serviced either. So,
How are top agents talking to their sellers about buyer's agent commission? How has working with buyers changed post-NAR?
Has it changed? I mean, to us, I feel like we already had buyers brokers agreements that we had beforehand. So we were already on that, like Berkshire Hathaway had already been doing that. I don't know. All my sellers, I sit down, I explain it to them. I say, you don't have to offer commission. You can. They all say they will. I haven't had one say they wouldn't. So that hasn't been an issue for us. On the buyers, we tell them the same thing. I think if anything for us, it makes it easier for us to get a commission and honestly easier to probably get more commission. That's my thought process on it.
The study has said that commissions have actually gone up since this has happened. I do think some companies are being extremely misleading about it, which kind of drives me personally crazy because a lot of companies are only saying what they're taking as a listing side, and some of you guys probably are part of some of these companies. But you're not mentioning the buyer side until like the offers come in. And I know this because we go on a lot of listing appointments. I've been on 35 listing appointments since August 17th. And people are like, well, you're a higher commission. I'm like, am I a higher commission? Because this is what I'm taking on the list side. They're like, but you're mentioning buyer's brokers. I'm like, well, what I'm telling you is that, listen, we all can't collude in this room, okay, that we're offering buyer's commissions. I'm just saying, hypothetically, in a hypothetical world, if I got an offer on my listing, most likely a broker compensation form is going to come in. And if we're not willing to look at that broker compensation form, the odds of me selling is going to be lower, and all that you care about is your bottom line. So if your bottom line is $100, okay, and the broker's asking $2 on top of that, then I'd be like, okay, well then I need $102 to get you the same number, okay? And that's how we're explaining to our sellers. Are some sellers not offering or willing to offer a commission? Absolutely. I have been on some interviews where they say, I no matter what will offer a commission. I'm like, well, you want $600,000 for your place? You said, yes. I said, if I got you $1 million, but that $1 million offer came with a 2.5% commission, you wouldn't take it. And he said, that's correct. I said, well, I'm out of here because that's a fucking wacko that I don't want to deal with, okay? That means I'm going to get sued 100%, okay? So I'm just going to walk out of that room, okay? I'm like, this has been fun. I'm out of here, okay? But there are going to be some sellers that are like that. And then you have to ask yourself is what's inflating your numbers worth compared to like what you want to be. Everybody can decide what they want to do. But I think the point of this lawsuit was to be extremely transparent. And my biggest problem, and if you work for one of these companies that aren't being transparent, you have to ask yourself, is it better to be transparent or is it better to get the listing? And that's what's really been personally getting me upset with the other brokerage community is that people aren't being transparent of how it actually goes down. And the reason that I am 35 for 35 on listing appointments is because I'm the only one walking in there being transparent about it. And I'll tell you right now, it's working against you guys. So you could keep going on it. You're going to keep losing to me on it. So just know that. But I think it's important that you be transparent. I'm just saying, I think it's ridiculous. It's driving me crazy that people, I cannot tell you how many people are saying that nobody's even bringing it up on listing appointments. The fact that it's happened 35 times makes me think like that's a problem. They're not bringing up buyers, brokers, commissions. They're only offering what they're offering, which I think is crazy. On the buy side, what we are telling, let's talk about online leads, right? So we get online leads. We're a partner agent, a flex agent with Zillow, okay? So like we're like tied to these guys. And when you get a lead, they have touring agreements, okay? So we're all supposed to have brokerage agreements, but if you're a partner agent with Zillow, you get these tour agreements. So how many people are not signing these touring agreements? Right now we're batting about 20% of people refuse to sign an agreement, okay? And I will tell you, out of 10 Zillow leads we take out, about 5 of them are complete and utter waste of time. So all we're doing is saving time. There's a lot of people, and I think the buyers, brokers agreements for everybody out here, the plus side that we have to think about this, they have made seeing properties too easy in the world. Redfin, Zillow, Realtor.com, Homes.com. Anybody could go online and click on a button and have instant access to a $10 million property. No questions asked. And I'll tell you right now, anybody in this room gets a $10 million lead, you're going to roll that dice. You could sit here and tell me, I wouldn't take him out until he gets pre-approved. Fuck off. You get a $10 million lead to meet some guy at 1 o'clock, you got nothing in your calendar, you're fucking meeting him. Don't sit here and tell me you're not going to do it. Somebody in here is like, I'm not going to do it. Fuck off. You're not going to. You'll take that chance, okay? And then you meet the person, you don't forewarn them, and it's just some nobody. So my point is that we have made this too easy to get into properties. And I think the touring agreements are a good thing because what they're doing is it's eliminating the people that 0% would want to go into a place. And that's what we found, is that these tour agreements are just weeding those people out. And then the real buyers brokers agreements, we haven't had a single person push back at all because I think I've said this a million times, but I'll say this really quickly again, is that I have never in my life taken a listing on in my career without a listing agreement. I've never posted a property, I've never marketed a property, I've never spent any money on a property without a listing agreement in place. Yet like an asshole, I've been driving around fucking people for 20 years of my life with no commitment to me. Zero, zip. And now we finally got these agreements. And I actually love it. And you've been doing it. That's great. I applaud you because I was too big of a wimp to ever do them before. But I'll tell you, now that you have them, it's kind of like I know who my players are and who aren't. And it feels kind of good. I don't know about you guys, but it feels good to know that these guys are somewhat committed to you. And I will tell you, from an outside perspective, because we do get online leads, is I've had buyers reach out and say, hey, sorry, I can't tour that because I'm already signed up with somebody else. And I got to tell you, that even though like I get frustrated because we paid for that lead, it's also like, man, it feels fucking good that like now we got some sort of like control. Okay, we're getting a little bit of the control back. So everybody's been looking at us on a negative thing, but like think about that. Like that person, if they didn't have that signed agreement, probably would have met me. I would have taken them, closed them, and then you would have been out. And now you lost that sale. Which I think this is a good thing for everybody involved, is that we have a little bit more of the power back on our side.
I disagree. No, I'm just kidding. No, we haven't really had issues. I was very, very nervous, to be transparent, when this was all coming about. But it's more paperwork for sure. But I do feel that on the buy side, we've had zero issues of people. They say yes super fast. Everybody understands it, no problems. On the list side, everybody, I would say 50% of the listing presentations that I've gone on, people definitely ask, and people try to see if they can get away with, paying less or whatever, and I kibosh it very quickly and make it very clear that you are doing a massive disservice if you do not offer a full buyer's commission. You will diminish your exposure and it will not pan out in your favor. So that conversation is pretty quick now, and we haven't really had issues. Am I forgetting of anything? I don't think so. I haven't had a situation, actually I have a question. If a seller said to you, I'm not willing to pay out a buyer's agent, are you still taking that listing at this point?
We don't take it if somebody's not willing to, because we can't force anybody. Let's remember that, like, we cannot force anybody, nor am I saying I could force anybody. What I'm saying is that if an offer came in and the offer is a solid offer and comes with the broker compensation, and if you're saying you're not willing to work with that, then it's not the right fit for my company. That's what I'm saying. And I have turned down calls that would have led to listing appointments that I just didn't want to meet with them because of that.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that would be our position as well.
Pretty sure, sure.
I'm 100% positive. One more question for Matt Laricy. So, sorry, I'm taking.
No, go for it.
So, do you not pay parking meters? Like, is it again? Like, do you just not pay?
So we have, it's like $3 an hour in front of my office. This is the South Side, man. I'm so cheap. I'm like, it's $3 an hour in front of my office to park. And honestly, like, we watch it from the window, and every now and then I get in on a call, and they get me. But here's the thing. If you sit there for, like, if I'm there for 4 hours, and then I leave, and I come back for another 4 hours, like, the $70 ticket, it's actually cheaper to get tickets than it is if I paid it the whole time for the most part. But the guys know me from there, and I feel like they target me. Like the guy yesterday on a bike, he just like came out of nowhere, and he like threw it. He like threw it over his shoulder, and I was like, "What the fuck, man?" And he was like, "Fuck off, we got you." And he had a thing around his. It was like something out of a movie. I was trying to film it, and I had it on my story because I was like, "I'm trying to get this guy. Okay. These guys are crazy."
Who are the buyers and sellers to look for in the market right now?
Well, we look for all the buyers and sellers. So, I mean, is there a specific person that we're looking for? Yeah, I mean, I think anyone and everyone, I do think hopefully we'll see what happens, but I think that things could loosen up a little bit. I know everyone we had a really great year, or have a great year so far. I know a lot of people said that they weren't having good years. I don't know what next year looks to be, but I mean, I feel like even for myself, like it's really hard right now. Like I'm trying to buy stuff and I can't find what I want to buy for myself. So, I mean, there has to be something, and so I'm not sure where this leads, but I think any buyers and sellers that are coming through, we're looking for them. Where do I find them? I don't know. All the same places Jill said. I'm actually definitely going to start going to Gibson's and at like every place. Like I'm just going to do my rounds. I'm going to sit there. I've learned a lot today.
For everybody out there that has a buyer that wants to buy in April or May, this is really big, and this is why we crushed first and second quarter, because I had so many sellers who wanted to sell in Q3, and I forced them, like bullied them to sell Q1 and 2, and they did, and they made way more money. I'm showing them examples of why it was smart. But if you have any clients right now that are on that April-May cycle, which is going to be probably half your clients, bully them to buy this quarter or next quarter. Because I will tell you right now, you will get a better deal. Yeah, but you show them the example. So what I do is I say, here's the same place that came up at like there's a place yesterday, came up at 750. I said, listen, this place you could get at 725 today. This goes on the market January 15th. This sells for 801 to 802. What's the difference it costs you to break your lease for 5 months compared to that? Or you could get a sublease. What's it cost you? $2,000 a month to rent it? If you put it up for $1,000 a month, could you rent it to somebody else? Oh, you could? Okay, so now you're only really losing $5,000, but you just made $55,000. Now, I went to Eastern Illinois. So 55,000 and 5, I think 5 is less than 55. I don't know. I think it is. So where do I lose or make the most amount of money? And that's what we're telling people. And this is why so many people of ours that were pissed off about getting outbid in March and April, I punted probably about 50 buyers. I said, if you're too big of a bitch to buy right now, right? If you're too weak to do it, then you buy in the fall, because fall is deal season. I'm telling you right now, it is the frightful fall. Anybody who says you're doing great, it's hard to find. Yeah, it's hard to find $500,000 properties in certain parts. You're buying in the suburbs, it's a tough time to buy, but everything else is sitting for way longer than it normally would sit. Okay, showings are 1/3. Go on showing time. They're 1/3 of where they were in March. If you want to buy, this is the time to do it. So who you're looking for is somebody who wants a deal or somebody who wants to buy in the spring but likes money. So talk to your buyers. Do you like money? If you do, buy now.
But I think it's about breaking it down too. And when people say no or tell you they have this restriction, or it's about asking more questions versus just saying, okay. Like, why? Why are we waiting? Tell me the numbers. Let's talk the psychology of where you're at. And I think that's important to push your clients for more information on both the buy and sale side of what's really going on and what's really on their mind, so that you can help them, advocate for them, and save them money.
Yeah, I have something to add on that too. We do a decent amount of new construction, and every year in the fall and the winter, I have developers, especially with interest rates as high as they are, that will give stuff away technically for the season, right? But a lot of people think with new construction, they're not going to come off what asking prices, and we will show these properties and push, and we cannot get anyone to buy them. And these developers would drop prices significantly just to get it off in the fall and the winter. We sit on them, we wait, here comes January, February, we sell them for full price or multiple offers and over asking, when you could have gotten 50, 75. So it's like, you really, this is part of understanding your market and knowing your market knowledge and stuff like that, but it is, Matt's right, Jill, I buy all my houses during this time period. Between now and January is when I buy all my stuff.
How to prepare yourself for success in the slower season, and what are some things you do to stay motivated?
So to stay motivated, I try to put as much creativity in my life that I can, art, style, traveling, just to see different things, to feel a different feeling. For me personally, I have to get out of Chicago a decent amount in order to really stay motivated. When I'm in Chicago and I'm 7 days a week, not that I'm not working when I'm gone, but I have a hard time relaxing in Chicago. So that's for me personally what I do. Whenever we start to get slow, like right now, even yesterday in the office, we're going over marketing plans, what we want to do social, video wise, we're making sure that all our databases are up to date. We're calling all of our previous clients. We're really getting ready for the spring. And so any sort of marketing website, all of that really happens right now. And that's how it is every year. So this is the one thing in this business, if you do it right, you're never dead. You're never really slow. There's always something to do. You just have to know when to do it. And the consistency is the biggest part. If you're consistent over and over and over again, it sounds exhausting, but it's not if you love the business and you're passionate about it. But if you're not, probably more than likely it's not the business for you. But you always have to be consistent, and you always have to be doing this stuff year round. And that's the only way to really build and to stay relevant.
Does anybody have questions? Please raise your hand and scream so I don't have to walk around. Yes.
Thank you all so much for your time to be here, because I'm sure you get plenty of stuff to do. My question is, now after the change, there are different agents doing different things with the commission on the buyer side. Now, when they do the listing agreement, the selling agent, sometimes they put a certain amount to kind of give away to commission to the buyer agent, but some agents do 0, and then they say to the seller, let's see how the package is coming in the offer. Mm-hmm. What would be the best approach as a selling agent, to present to the owner of the property to do a certain percentage, or to choose when the offer is coming?
The way I put it is this is our cap, and I put it on our listing agreement, and I say this is the cap that we can expect to be giving out. And this is what I would base my numbers off of when I think about my bottom line number. And I put that in my listing agreement to my seller. So some companies are trained to tell you, and technically speaking with the lawsuit, you're not supposed to say like, hey, I'm willing to offer this. So what you have to go into it knowing is that like, I don't know what I could get paid. So what you're saying is when you submit the offer, this is part of our offer. It's part of negotiation. I have a lot of agents, specifically agents that whatever, they're very more combative with the commission aspect, and they counter the price and they counter the commission. So I've been doing double negotiations with about 20% of my deals. We're like, we'll counter you at 500, but we're going to give you 1% commission. Now, the big problem I have with some companies is that they're not telling their buyers when they get countered the broker compensation, which I've seen firsthand many times. And I think it's very important that we're transparent if we want to remain some sort of reputation in this industry. I copy and paste. I'm like, here's what they countered my thing. Now, we have an agreement of 2.5%. That's my agreement with my buyers. That's what I charge as my company. Everybody's allowed to charge whatever they want. Now, and I'm like, then you're going to have to pay me out of pocket, or we'll just counter them back at this, and that's what we're doing. So it's just important for you to explain to your buyer what you can have and tell your sellers what their expectations should be. And when you make that offer, you have to put that in.
My question, so as you guys all just said, Q4 is the slower time for almost everyone, but right now you guys were saying that for buyers, this would be the perfect time for them to purchase a property. But what I'm experiencing right now is that a lot of my sellers are holding back because they want to list in Q1. So what is that like middle ground of persuading your sellers that right now in Q4 would be a good time to sell?
I mean, I think from a sell side, so we kind of always have properties that we know are coming. Like I have stuff that we're not going to list till next spring, technically, but what I'm looking at, so like I every day am looking at like what's going on in the market. You know, I'm looking at the numbers. So I'm looking at the competition, I'm looking like if there's a gap. If there's a gap in the market where I know I can get my seller probably more than I can now, which can happen than you can in the spring, you just have to know that. And so if you're able to articulate that to the seller and you're able to show them that data, then a lot of times the seller will say, yeah, go ahead and put it on and let's test the waters. And that's what I do. That's primary a lot of what I do within, you know, our team is looking at those numbers every day and being like, let's throw it on, let's take it off, let's remarket, let's do this. I mean, it's definitely a process, but you can get sellers. I mean, if you can show the data, I mean, why would they not?
I think if you got a 2-bed, 2-bath, 500,000 in Lincoln Park, I'm going on the market right now. Like, I mean, that market's hot, right? I got a 2-bed, 2-bath for $650 in River North. I'm gonna be like, let's go in the pockets. You know, so like everything is relative to what you're selling and what's been selling around you. And you know, the problem is that a lot of brokers, they got outbid on a couple properties. So like the market's super hot, everything's going crazy. It's like, well, again, a 2-bedroom in Lincoln Park's super hot. But you know, a 3-bedroom for $4 million in River North is fucking, there's 26 months of inventory. It's the worst market of all time, you know? So you have to understand your market. And when you talk to your sellers, you have to tell them what's going to make you the most amount of money. It's just like what you say in the buyers. Where can I save the most amount of money? And the seller, it's like, where can I make you the most amount of money?
And I think, you know, you can say that there's going to be more competition for sellers in the spring. And there's a lot of different ways that you can hustle inventory without actually accruing market time. So you get the listing paperwork signed, you get them excited, and then you really work. Like you call your network, you put it on TAN, you put it on social media, you put it on PLN, for us, Compass coming soon. You work your channels and you can be very proactive selling a property without actually putting it on the market, and you can prove that to your sellers and do a really good job of marketing it behind the scenes pending you have the signed paperwork.
Question to Matt, I've always been curious, do you use profanity with your clients as well?
It's hard to turn the filter off, so yes, it happens. And I honestly, I lose some clients sometimes for it. I'm not gonna lie, it happens. Like people they just don't like it. And it is what it is. You know, I'm not gonna change who I am to get business, you know, and that wins me a lot of business, but it also costs me business.
I would like to give Matt a plug too. Like if you don't subscribe to his newsletter, it is the best thing in the world. Like I constantly read it all day long. I mean, it's wonderful. Like you, literally what you say, I mean, you have amazing knowledge in there. So like if you're a new agent, I mean, I would follow it because there's some really, really good stuff that's in there.
Before everybody claps, before I lose your attention, I want to say 2 quick things about A&N and some things we have coming up. So on the back screen, I have a QR code that I would love all of you to scan because it actually goes to our Eventbrite, so you can actually follow us and get updated when we have upcoming events like this and other events. And you can see on the left, we have a grand opening on Saturday for our new office in the western suburbs, which we're really, really, really excited about. And then the last thing I want to say, just so you understand a little bit more about why you're here and why we do events like this, ANN really understands, obviously, we need to give you and your clients competitive interest rates, great service, yada, yada, yada. But we understand that a lot of people can do that. But something that not a lot of other lenders can do is really partner with your business and help you grow and learn as agents. So that's why I spend a lot of time and money putting on events like this. So if you're looking for someone to kind of partner with and actually help you grow as an agent, please come find me or any of the other loan officers in the room. We would love to partner with you, support you, and then, yeah, thank you all for being here. Thank you guys so much for your time. We love you.